Hey everyone, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2024 Kia Telluride, we're going to be showing you how to install the etrailer.com trailer hitch receiver. Before we do that though, let's just take a couple minutes, check it out, and make sure it's going to be right for you. So with these Kias being really popular SUVs, and especially the fact that they're full size, people use them to do a lot of different things. So whether you're trying to pull a trailer around or use some type of accessory, this one's definitely going to get the job done for you. There are a couple other hitches available for the Telluride. With this one, I'd say it's the best all-around hitch. You know, I think it looks good. For the most part, it's completely hidden. You're just going to see the receiver tube opening. I really like the matte black finish. I think it matches the plastic on her bumper here really well and almost looks factory. There's a Kurt hitch that's pretty much identical to this. It just has a gloss black finish. And if you're someone who's looking for the best appearance as possible, there's a stealth hitch. And that one, the way it works, it's going to be completely hidden. And that's because the receiver tube is actually detachable. So when you're not using it, you can pop the tube out, won't see nothing back here. And then when you are ready to use it, you can put the tube in place and be able to use your accessory or pull your trailer. With this being a class 3 hitch, it's going to have a 2" by 2" receiver tube opening, which is a good thing because that's a really common size, so a lot of stuff will work with it. It's going to use the standard 5/8 pin and clip. Keep in mind though, one doesn't come included with the hitch. If you need one, not a huge deal. You can grab it here at eTrailer. Or a lot of times too, if you end up buying a new accessory, they'll come with one, so something to look out for. The safety chain openings are going to be a loop style. And they're really easy to get to and big enough to allow you to use just about any size hook that your trailer might have on it. The hitch is going to have some really good weight capacities. Maximum gross tongue weight rating will be 750 pounds. That's the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch. And that's high enough to use pretty much any size bike rack or cargo carrier that you want to, for example. As far as the maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, that's going to be 5,000 pounds. Or the amount of weight that is pulling on the hitch. That's the weight of your trailer plus anything you might have in or on it. This can be used with a weight distribution system, which is a separate component. What happens when you use that, it's going to keep your Kia and your trailer level whenever you're towing it down the road. So pretty popular with enclosed trailers, campers, things of that nature. And if you use that type of thing, the tongue weight remains the same at 750. But you get an extra 1,000 pounds out of the trailer, so that goes up to 6,000. With all that said though, I do always like to recommend, never a bad idea just to grab your owner's manual. That way you can check in there and make sure that your SUV can handle that much weight safely. We'll grab a couple of measurements now, and these will help us figure out what type of accessories will work best. If you go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, that's going to be about 15 inches. So if you plan on doing some towing, you can probably use a ball mount that has a straight shank, or maybe even one with a very slight rise in it, an inch, something like that. Probably works well for a lot of people. And if you go from the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper, that's only going to be about 4 inches, which is really good. So you shouldn't run into too many issues here, but if need be, you can use that to help figure out exactly if any of those folding type accessories you might have can be stored in that upright position without hitting the back of your Kia. Other than that, at the end of the day, if it were me and I was putting a hitch on this vehicle, this would be the one that I would go with. I think it looks really good and it's going to be capable. So, you know, be able to pretty much handle just about anything you want to throw at it. As far as the installation goes, it's really not too bad. You know, there's a panel you drop down over here, lower the exhaust a little bit. It's not a huge deal. Everything's pretty easy to get to. And then from there, the hitch more or less just kind of bolts up into place. So shouldn't run into too many issues or take up a bunch of your time. But with that said, why don't we go ahead, pull into the garage and get started on it now. To begin our install, we're going to be here at the back of our Kia, and we need to temporarily lower and remove our spare tire. That way we'll have some extra room to work. And then once the hitch is back in place, we're able to raise the spare tire back into position. Moving over here to the driver's side, we're going to have this small underbody panel, and we need to remove it. So there's 3 push pin style fasteners, just like this one. And you just take a flat head and pry underneath the head of the fastener and pull the whole base out. And then up in this little pocket here, there's going to be some plastic nuts. And you can take an extension and a 14mm socket and just loosen them by hand. And they're actually going to stay connected to the panel, but thread off of the stud there. And sometimes you might have to apply a little downward pressure to get this to pop off. But with it free, we'll set it off to the side for now. Now we can grab a strap, and we're gonna run this from side to side. And the reason for it is to help kind of support our exhaust, to control how fast and how far we let it down. We're gonna do that, that way we have room on our passenger side to get the hitch up. You're gonna have a total of 3 isolator hangers that you need to remove. So one right here, and it helps if you spray them down with soapy water just to help lubricate them. And then you can kind of grab the exhaust and work it back and forth, help loosen it up a little bit. But you take a pry bar or a big screwdriver and work one end of the hanger off. The second one will be just on the other side of our muffler over here. Second one, we'll just do the same thing to get it removed. Last but not least, third one's right here in the middle. Once you get that popped off of there, you can loosen up the strap a little bit and let the exhaust come down. We have this panel here in the middle of our bumper. We can get it removed. So on each side of it, you're gonna have a push pin style fastener. And we'll pop those out. And then in the middle, just on the back side of it, we're gonna have a couple of screws we can pull out. There's our 2 screws right there in the middle. We'll get them removed, and then we should be able to grab our panel and pop it out of position. We'll go over our attachment points, and they're going to be the same on both sides of our vehicle. As a matter of fact, whatever we do to one side, we'll also do to the other side of our car, because it'll be set up the same way. But we're gonna have a total of 4 attachment points on each frame rail, 2 on the bottom, and those holes are threaded. So not a bad idea to spray some penetrating oil or something in there, and you can take a brush if you want, just to clean out the threads a little bit. And once the hitch is up, the hardware that's gonna go in there, you're gonna have a bolt and a conical tooth washer, and you set it up like this, where the teeth on the washer are gonna face up towards the hitch. And pay attention too, because there's some other conical tooth washers where the opening is a little bigger. You want the smaller opening for these bolts. And as far as these go, what you're gonna do is take a long bolt, conical tooth washer, the hitch will line up here, and then these will slide through. I do find it sometimes easier if you start with the washer kind of down here, run it through, as opposed to back here, because sometimes, you know, the sealer and stuff, you might get hung up on it. So that'll pass through, and then eventually we'll come back and put hardware on the other side. If you got someone that can help you with this part, it makes it much easier. But you'll take the hitch, raise it up into position. We're gonna line up the holes in the hitch with our attachment points, and then you can take that hardware that we talked about and get it started hand tight. I was able to push those bolts through like we talked about, and where they come out on the other side, you can take a conical tooth washer and thread on a hex nut. Snug the hardware down now. So for these bolts, the head of the bolt, you can use a 19mm or 3/4 inch wrench. And then where the nut is, you can use a 21mm. And then for these bottom ones, you can grab a 17 millimeter to tighten them down. I'm gonna make sure to come back with a torque wrench now and tighten down all the hardware to the amount specified in the instructions. We'll rehang our exhausts. So you can usually just re-lubricate the hangers and push them back in place by hand. And once it's supporting itself, go ahead and get our strap removed here. Trim out this panel now to make room for it to go around the hitch. So there's a diagram in the instructions which you can follow. And I use those as a reference, as well as just kind of put this up halfway into position and do it that way as well. So drew out our opening there, and I'm going to cut it using a multi-tool. You can use a Dremel tool, a jigsaw, utility knife, kind of whatever you got around the house. So go ahead and get this opening made. If you want to as well, you can always come back and clean up some of these rough edges with a file or piece of sandpaper, something along those lines. We'll see if it fits. So line it up. Looks like we're in pretty good shape. So we'll just snap this back into position and re-secure it the opposite way that we removed it. Reinstall our spare tire. It fits up there without any issues, as well as the underbody panel that just pops back into place. And with that done, that will finish up our look at and our installation of the etrailer.com trailer hitch receiver on our 2024 Kia Telluride.